Okay, today we have shloka number 4 with Bhaktivinoda Thakur's prose commentary, his versified paraphrase, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentary, Chaitanya Charitamrita, verses paraphrasing text 4. Then supposed to do shloka number 5 and Bhaktivinoda Thakur's commentary on shloka 5 along with the verse paraphrase. I doubt if all of that would be possible. If that's not possible, then we'll have to extend to another class. One or more classes may be extended. Okay. It's text 4. See this. This bigger. All right, let's begin. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sadhakir Kamana Ki. What is the aspiration of a sadhaka, of one who's engaged in sadhana bhakti? Nadhanam, najanam, nasundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye, mama janmani janmanishware bhavatad bhakti rahaitu ki tvayi. O Lord of the universe, I do not desire material wealth, materialistic followers, a beautiful wife, or fruitive activities described in flowery language. All I want, life after life, is unmotivated devotion service unto you. Sanmodana Bhashyam. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Ado Shraddha Dhananam Shri Gurumukhat Harinama Shravanam. At the beginning, in the beginning, one who has Shraddha, unbroken faith in Krishna consciousness, must hear the holy name of Lord Hari from the mouth of the bona fide spiritual master. Tato niraparadhena tannama kirtana. And then he must engage in Harinama Kirtana, the chanting of the holy name of Lord Hari without offenses. Tatah Purvokta Lakshana Chatushtaya Rupam Anubhavaha. Rupa Anubhavaha. And then one experiences the four types of, the four characteristics that have been specified in the previous verse. Kintu Kladani Sara Vritti Rupaya Bhakte Jadananda Anvaya Vyatireka Sambandha Shunyam Shuddha Swarupa Udayam Vina Bhavatmika Bhaktir Na Bhavati Iti Vichintya Nama Kirtana Rupa Sadhana Bhakte Shuddha Swarupam Vyatireka Lakshanena Spashtayati Nadhanamiti Shloka Dvayena. But Bhakti, being an aspect of the essence of the Hladani potency, pleasure-giving potency of the Lord, by engaging in that bhakti, unless one's own pure nature is revealed to be completely okay. Jadananda Anvaya Vyatireka Sambandha Shunyam. So, one's own constitutional nature has nothing to do with material happiness, directly or indirectly. So unless one comes to this point of self-awakening, then bhakti in the form of bhava bhakti will not arise. Considering this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in 2 verses beginning with Nadhanam, clarifies the pure nature of sadhana bhakti in the form of nama kirtana indirectly. through indirect characteristics. Yavad anukulyamayi krishnanushilan rupa bhaktir vyatireka lakshanatmika anyabhilashita shunya jnana karma dhyanavrita cha na bhavati tavat tasya bhakti abhasa matratvam. As long as engagement, as long as bhakti in the form of cultivated service to Lord Krishna, which is favorable to him, does not become free from other hankerings, the absence of which is an indirect characteristic. And as long as it is not freed from jnana and karma, as long as it is not covered by jnana and karma, and so on and so on, until that time, that engagement in bhakti is only a reflection of pure bhakti. Tadabhasatvam parihartum ichchaya vyatireka lakshanena shuddha bhaktim shikshayati. In order to avoid such an engagement in the reflection of devotional service, the Lord teaches pure bhakti by indirectly characterizing it. Hey Jagadish, O Lord of the universe, dhanam janam sundarim kavitam va aham na kamaye. I do not desire dhana, jana, sundari kavita. I don't desire any of this. Atra dhana padena varnashrama nishtha dharma dhanam aihika paratrika jada sukha karam sarvam arthadhanam sthula linga gata indriya gana anandakaram kamadhanam cha gyatavyam. Here dhana, wealth, dhana literally means wealth, refers to the wealth of dharma through the varnashrama system, piety, pious credits. All kinds of wealth in the form of artha, which can provide material happiness in this life or in the next life. Economic development, as Prabhupada often says. And the wealth of kama, which gives one, which grants satisfaction to the gross and subtle senses. So, dhana refers to dharma dhana, artha dhana, kama dhana. Janapadena, swasharira anuga stri, putra, dasa, dasi, praja, bandhu, bandhava, adayaha, gyatavyaha. The word jana refers to those related to one's body, such as one's wife, one's son, one's servant, maidservant, one's subjects, one's relatives, friends, and so on. Sundari kavita padena sa vidya tanmatir yaya iti nyayat bhagavan leela tattva kirtana rupa kavyam vina anya kavya lakshana samanya vidya gyeya. Sundari kavita, sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye. That it literally means beautiful scholarship. Kavi can simply mean a scholar. In the first verse of Bhagavatam also we have that. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. He spoke to the Adi Kavi, the original Kavi. And Kavi refers to the original learned person, scholar. So this Sundari Kavita refers to beautiful scholarship, excellent scholarship, on the basis of the principle sa vidya tanmatir yaya. That is education by which one's mind becomes fixed on him. Any form of poetry that does not describe the truth of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, ordinary education, materialistic education. That is referred to by this expression, Sundari Kavita. In other words, I don't want excellent scholarship. I don't want to have beautiful scholarship. This is something we have to keep in mind. If you want to be respected by the non-devotee class of people, there is no question of progressing in pure devotion service to Krishna. There are many other things which prevent us from progressing in Krishna consciousness, but this is certainly one important thing that prevents us from progressing in Krishna consciousness. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he also spoke about this. Etat sarvam aham na yache. I am not asking for any of this. Kintu janmani janmani tvayi ishware praneshware krishne ahaitu kim bhaktim yache. Rather, life after life, I am beseeching you for unmotivated devotion service, life after life. Unmotivated devotion service to you. To you. You are the Lord, Ishware. You are the Lord of my life. You are Krishna. Haituki bhakti hi phalanusandhana rahita chit swabhava ashraya Krishna ananda rupa shuddha kevala kinchana mishra bhaktiriti. Unmotivated devotion service is devoid of the pursuit for any result other than prema bhakti. That is clear from several writings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It is sheltered on the spiritual nature. It is of the nature of Krishna's pleasure. It is referred to as Shuddha Bhakti, Kevala Bhakti, Akinchana Bhakti, Amishra Bhakti, pure Bhakti, exclusive Bhakti, Kinchana. What is Kinchana Bhakti? Pure Bhakti. I don't know how to translate Akinchana Bhakti. It means Bhakti with nothing other than, for no purpose other than the progress of devotion service, etc. Amishra Bhakti, unmixed Bhakti. Janma Marana Rupa Jada Yantrana Nivrittihi Krishna Ichha Adhina Jiva Cheshta Atita Vishaya. Freedom from the tortures of matter in the form of birth and death is dependent on Krishna's desires. This is beyond the living entity's endeavors. Tat prarthana api na kartavya. One should not even pray for that. Ataha janmani janmani iti vaktavya. Therefore, one should say janmani janmani, life after life. Yada Krishna ichchaya janma marana nivrittis tada tad dukham swayameva nashyati. Kim upaya virodhinya tat prarthanaya. When by Krishna's desire there is the cessation of birth and death, then tat dukham. Then the distress caused by birth and death will naturally perish. Why should one pray for that which actually obstructs accomplishing that? I'm sorry. I'm very poor in keeping track. You can very clearly see I'm not a multitasker at all. Okay, song. Wait. Okay, songs.
Krishna Bhakti means without any motive.
Unmotivated. I to give up this also. Nagati? Where is Shiksha Ashtakam? Check. It's here. Shiksha Ashtaka, okay. A very beautiful song. प्रभु तब पद जुगे मोर निवेदन नाही मागी देह सुख विद्याधन जन. My Lord, I submit the following prayer at your holy feet. I do not pray to you for bodily happiness, learning, wealth, or followers. Nahi magi swarga ar moksha nahi magi, na kari prarthana kon vibhukti lagi. I do not pray for swarga, heaven. I do not pray for liberation. I do not pray for any opulence, vibhuti. निज कर्म गुण दोषे जे जे जन्म पाए जन्मे जन्मे जैनो तब नाम गुण गाए. In whatever birth I take, in accordance with the good and bad of my own karma, let me sing the glories of your holy name, birth after birth. Ei matra asha mama tomar charane haituki bhakti hriday jage anukshane. This alone is my cherished hope. That my cherished hope, my aspiration. Let unmotivated devotion service arise at every moment in my heart towards your lotus feet. Vishaye je priti ebe achwaye amar shei mata priti hok charane tomar. Let me love your lotus feet as much as I now love sense objects. Let me have that much of love for your lotus feet. Sampade vipade taha thaku samabhave dine dine vriddhi hok namer prabhave. In prosperity or in calamity, let me be equipoised. Let my love for your lotus feet increase every day by the influence of your holy name. Pashupakshi hoye thaki swargeban niraye tava bhakti rafu bhakti vinod hridaye. Whether I live as a bird or beast in heaven or in hell, let devotion service remain in the heart of Bhakti Vedanta. Charitamrita. Okay. कहते प्रभु दैन्य बाड़िला शुद्ध भक्ति कृष्ण ठाई मागिते लागिला. As Lord Chaitanya spoke in this way, his humility increased and he began praying to Krishna that he could discharge pure devotional service. Speaking like this, the humility of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu increased and he began to pray for pure devotional service from Krishna. प्रेमेर स्वभाव जहाँ प्रेमेर संबंध सही माने कृष्णे मोर नाहि प्रेमो बंध. Whenever there is a relationship of love of God, its natural symptom is that the devotee does not think himself a devotee. Instead, he always thinks that he has not even a drop of love for Krishna. It is the nature of love of God that where there is a relationship of love of God, then that person, he recognizes that there is not even a scent of love for Lord Krishna, the Supreme Godhead. Okay, there's a purport. Let me read it out. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments that persons who are actually very poor because they possess not even a drop of love of God or pure devotion service falsely advertise themselves as great devotees, although they cannot at any time relish the transcendental bliss of devotion service. The class of so-called devotees known as Prakrita Sahajiyas sometimes display devotion symptoms to exhibit their good fortune. They are pretending, however, because these devotion features are only external. The Prakrita Sahajiyas exhibit these symptoms to advertise their so-called advancement in love of Krishna. But instead of praising the Prakrita Sahajiyas for their symptoms of transcendental ecstasy, pure devotees do not like to associate with them. It is not advisable to equate the Prakrita Sahajiyas with pure devotees. When one is actually advanced in ecstatic love of Krishna, he does not try to advertise himself. Instead, he endeavors more and more to render service to the Lord. So it goes by inverse proportion. The more we are actually the more we have progressed in devotion service, the more we consider that we have not served Krishna sufficiently enough. This is the nature of greed. There's a difference between desire and greed, even in the material sense. A person who desires, in fact, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in one place he says, a person who desires a woman, has greed for a woman, really blindly he goes. So it is the very nature of greed that you never feel satisfied. You never feel that you have served Krishna enough. The Prakrita Sahajiyas sometimes criticize pure devotees by calling them philosophers, learned scholars, knowers of the truth, or minute observers, but not devotees. They say everything other than devotee. On the other hand, they depict themselves as the most advanced, transcendently blissful devotees, deeply absorbed in devotional service and mad to taste transcendental values. In English, you don't get it, but if you read this in the original Bengali, you'll understand how nicely decorated Sanskrit titles they use to describe themselves and to describe people whom they consider to be either non-devotee or Jnana Mishra Bhakta, or they'll say anything other than devotee. So in both ways, they use very wonderful, ecstatic titles. They also describe themselves as the most advanced devotees in spontaneous love, as knowers of transcendental mellows, as the topmost devotees in conjugal love of Krishna, and so on. Not actually knowing the transcendental nature of love of God, they accept their material emotions to be indicative of advancement. In this way, they pollute the process of devotion service. To try to become writers of Vaishnava literature, they introduce their material conceptions of life into pure devotional service. Because of their material conceptions, they advertise themselves as knowers of transcendental mellows, but they do not understand the transcendental nature of devotion service. Dhana jana nahi magum kavita sundari shuddha bhakti dekho more Krishna kripa kori. My dear Lord Krishna, I do not want material wealth from you, nor do I want followers, a beautiful wife, or the results of fruitive activities. I only pray that by your causeless mercy, you give me pure devotion service to you, life after life. So Kavita Sundari, Prabhupada has taken Sundari, he's taken it to mean a beautiful wife, one who's beautiful externally, internally. And Kavita, Prabhupada has taken it to refer to expertise in fruitive activities. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has also indicated that it can be taken in that way. Atidainya पुनः मागे दास्य भक्ति दान आपनारे करे संसारी जीव अभिमान. In great humility, considering himself a conditioned soul of the material world, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again expressed his desire to be endowed with service to the Lord. Vivriti, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentary. Hey Jagadish, O Lord of the universe, Ami Dhan John O Sundari Kavita Kavana Korina. I do not desire Dhana, Jana or Sundari Kavita. Amar Janma Janmantare Sevya to me. You are meant to be served by me, life after life. Tomatei Jeno Haituki Bhakti Thake. Let there be unmotivated devotion service to you only. Sundari Kavita Shabde Veda Kachita Dharma. Sundari Kavita refers to Dharma that is taught in the Vedas. Dhana Shabde Artha. Dhana refers to Artha. Evam Jana Shabde Kalatradi Kamanar Vishay Uddishta Hoyache. And Jana refers to objects of Kama, such as one's wife. So in that way, Dharma, Artha, Kama, all three have been referred to here. If Srimad Bhagavatam verses can have multiple meanings, then the extracted essence of Srimad Bhagavatam in the form of Shikshashtaka can definitely have multiple meanings. केवल जे धर्म अर्थ काम रूप भक्ति आमार अभिप्सित ए रूप न है अपुनर्भव रूप जन्म जन्मांतर रहित मुक्ति रो आमी प्रार्थी नहीं. It is not that I don't desire only dharmartha kama, which is bhukti, which is refined sense enjoyment, actually, which is elevated sense enjoyment. I don't request you, I don't hanker for liberation, which is cessation of the repeated cycle of birth and rebirth. I don't even want cessation of material existence. এই চতুর্বর্গ হেতু মূলে বা কামনা প্রণোদিত হইয়া আমি তোমার সেবায় প্রবৃত্ত হইব না. I will not engage in service to you in order to attain these four goals, not with the desire impelled by attainment of these four goals. তোমার সেবার জন্য আমি সেবা করিতে ব্যগ্র. And vyagra, eager, and intensely eager to serve you in order to serve you. That's all. I want to serve you just both as the means as the end. इसलिए कुलशेखर उक्ति आलोच्य. In this context, the statement of Kulashekara should be discussed. Nastha dharme na vasanchaye naiva kamopabhoge. Do we have folio here? Prabhupada has commented on it also. It would be very good to get it out. नास्ता धर्मे नवसुनिचये नैव कामोपभोगे यद्यद् भव्यं भवतु भगवन् पूर्वकर्मानुरूपम् एतत् प्रार्थ्यं मम बहुमतं जन्म जन्मान्तरेऽपि त्वत्पादाम्भोरुह युगगता निश्चला भक्तिरस्तु. O my Lord, I have no attachment for religiosity. or for accumulating wealth, or for enjoying sense gratification. Let these come as they inevitably must in accordance with my past deeds. But I do pray for this most cherished boon, birth after birth. Let me render unflinching devotion service unto your two lotus feet. Prabhupada is given a purport here. Human beings advance toward God consciousness when they go beyond the gross materialistic life of eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating, and begin to develop moral and ethical principles. These principles develop further into religious consciousness, leading to an imaginary conception of God without any practical realization of the truth. These stages of God consciousness are called religiosity, which promises material prosperity of various degrees, material prosperity in the future. People who develop this conception of religiosity perform sacrifices, give in charity, and undergo different types of austerity and penance, all with a view toward being rewarded with material prosperity in the future. The ultimate goal of such so-called religious people is sense gratification of various kinds. For sense gratification, material prosperity is necessary, and therefore they perform religious rituals with a view toward the resultant material name, fame, and gain in the future. But genuine religion is different. In Sanskrit, such genuine religion is called dharma, which means the essential quality of the living being. The Shastras say that this essential quality is to render eternal service, and the proper object of this service is the Supreme Truth, Lord Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead. This eternal transcendental service of the Lord is misdirected under material conditions and takes the shape of the aforementioned religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and salvation, or the attempt to negate all material variegatedness out of frustration. So this salvation has this as the meaning. Genuine religion, however, does not culminate in either economic development, sense gratification, or salvation. That's because actual dharma is apavargya, as we learn from first canto, second chapter. The perfection of religion is to attain complete satisfaction of the spirit soul, and this is accomplished by rendering devotion service to the Lord, who is beyond the perception of the material senses. Direct paraphrase of Savaipam Sambarodham. When the living being directs his eternal service attitude toward the eternal supreme being, such service can never be hampered by any sort of material hindrance. Such transcendental service is above even salvation, and therefore it certainly does not aim at any kind of material reward in the shape of name, fame, or gain. One who engages in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Being automatically attains detachment from material name, fame, and gain, which are aspired for only by those who do not understand that this name, fame, and gain are merely shadows of the real thing. Material name, fame, and gain are only perverted reflections of the substance, the name, fame, and opulences of the Lord. Therefore, the pure devotee of Lord Vasudeva, enlightened by the transcendental service attitude, has no attraction for such false things as religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, or salvation, the last snare of Maya. The purpose of performing real religion is to attain attachment for hearing and chanting the messages of the kingdom of God. Otherwise, Shrama eva hi kevalam. Materialistic people are attached to ordinary newspapers on account of their lack of spiritual consciousness. Real religion develops this spiritual consciousness and also attachment for the messages of God, without which all labor in the performance of religious rites is only a waste of time. Therefore, one should not practice religion with the aim of improving one's economic welfare, nor should one use one's wealth for sense gratification, nor should the frustration of one's plans for sense gratification lead one to aspire for salvation or liberation from material conditions. Instead of indulging in sense gratification of different grades with the fruits of one's labor, one should work just to maintain the body and soul together with the aim of inquiring into the ultimate aims and objects of life. Straight. It's all that first canto, second chapter. It's just verse after verse, Prabhupada is paraphrasing. Jivasya tattva jigyasa. In other words, one should inquire into the absolute truth. The absolute truth is realized in three phases, namely the impersonal Brahman, the localized Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A person who attains the highest stage of spiritual realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, automatically prays as King Kulashekara does here. This is also there. Vadanti tat tattva vidas. Only one who renders devotional service to the Lord can attain the stage of indifference to the false and temporary assets of material nature. Such devotional service is not a mental concoction of depraved persons, useless persons, but it's an actual process of God realization, characterized by full cognizance. Cognizance means knowledge and detachment, and based on the Vedic literature. Is also continuing. So-called devotional practices that have no reference to the rules and regulations set down in such books of Vedic literature as the Shruti, the Smriti, the Puranas, and the Pancharatras are not bona fide. The self-realized souls advise us to reject such pseudo-devotional practices which simply create a disturbance on the path of spiritual realization. Only by sincerely engaging in the service of the Lord, according to the injunctions of Scripture, can one gradually become a qualified devotee of the Lord. And it does not matter whether it takes many repetitions of birth and death, life after life, because the attainment is so tangible, it doesn't matter. Naham vande padak kamalayor dvando madvando heto kumbhi pakam gurumapi hare narakam napanetu ramya rama mrudutanulata nandane nabhirantum bhave bhave hridaya bhavane bhavayeyam bhavantam. It's here. Let me read it. Worth it. O Lord Hari, it is not to be saved from the dualities of material existence or the grim tribulations of the Kumbhipaka hell that I pray to your lotus feet. Nor is my purpose to enjoy the soft-skinned, beautiful women who reside in the gardens of heaven. I pray to your lotus feet only, so that I may remember you alone in the core of my heart, birth after birth. There are two classes of men, the atheists and the theists. The atheists have no faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, while the theists have various degrees of faith in Him. By atheists, Prabhupada has in his mind the four dushkritis. Namam dushkritino mudha. The atheists are faithless on account of their many misdeeds in the present and past lives. They fall into four categories: the gross materialists, the immoral sinners, the number one fools, and those who are bewildered by Maya despite their mundane education. No one among these four classes of atheists ever believes in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what to speak of offering prayers unto His lotus feet. The theists, on the other hand, these are the Sukritis who engage in devotion service, have faith in the Lord and pray to Him with various motives. One attains such a theistic life not by chance, but as a result of performing many pious acts in both the present life and the past life. Note that one becomes an atheist due to many misdeeds in the present and past lives. Similarly, one becomes a theist due to many pious deeds in the present life and the past life. Such pious men also belong to four categories: the needy, those who have fallen into difficulty, those who are inquisitive about the transcendental science, and the genuine philosophers. The philosophers and those who are inquisitive are better than those in categories 1 and 2. But a pure devotee is far above these four classes of pious men, for he is in the transcendental position. The needy pious man prays to God for a better standard of life, and the pious man who has fallen into material difficulty prays in order to get rid of his trouble. But the inquisitive man and the philosopher do not pray to God for amelioration of mundane problems, for eradication of mundane problems. They pray for the ability to know Him as He is, and they try to reach Him through science and logic. Such pious men are generally known as theosophists, those who are obsessed with theology. Needy pious men pray to God to improve their economic condition because all they know is sense gratification, while those in difficulty ask Him to free them from a hellish life of tribulations. Such ignorant people do not know the value of human life. This life is meant to prepare one to return to the absolute world, the kingdom of God. A pure devotee is neither a needy man, a man fallen into difficulty, nor an empiric philosopher who tries to approach the divinity on the strength of his own imperfect knowledge. A pure devotee receives knowledge of the divinity from the right source, the disciplic succession of realized souls who have followed strictly the disciplinary method of devotion service under the guidance of bona fide spiritual masters. It is not possible to know the transcendental nature of the divinity by dint of one's imperfect sense perception, but the divinity reveals Himself to a pure devotee in proportion to the transcendental service rendered unto him. King Kulashekara is a pure devotee, and as such, he is not eager to improve himself by the standards of the empiric philosophers, distressed men, or fruitive workers of this world. Pious acts may lead a mundane creature toward the path of spiritual realization, but practical activity in the domain of devotion service to the Lord need not wait for the reactions of pious acts. A pure devotee does not think in terms of his personal gain or loss because he is fully surrendered to the Lord. He is concerned only with the service of the Lord and always engages in that service, and for this reason his heart is the Lord's home, which means he's only thinking of the Lord. So the Lord resides in his heart, the Lord being absolute. There is no difference between him and his service. A pure devotee's heart is always filled with ideas about executing the Lord's service, which is bestowed upon the pure devotee through the transparent medium of the spiritual master. The spiritual master in the authoritative line of disciplic succession is the Son of God, or in other words, the Lord's bona fide representative. The proof that he's bona fide is his invincible faith in God, which protects him from the calamity of impersonalism. An impersonalist cannot be a bona fide spiritual master. For such a spiritual master's only purpose in life must be to render service to the Lord. He preaches the message of Godhead as the Lord's appointed agent and has nothing to do with sense gratification or the mundane wrangling, argumentation, counter-argumentations, and so on of the impersonalists. No one can render devotional service to an impersonal entity because such service implies a reciprocal personal relationship between the servant and the master. In the impersonal school, the so-called devotee is supposed to merge with the Lord and lose his separate existence. Pure devotees like King Kulashekara are particularly careful to avoid a process that will end in their becoming one with the existence of the Lord, a state known as Advandva, non-duality. This is simply spiritual suicide. Out of the 5 kinds of salvation, Advandva is the most abominable for a devotee. The remaining 4 are personalistic liberation, which can coexist with service to the Lord. A pure devotee denounces such oneness with the Lord as worse than going to hell. Kaivalyam narakayate. As his separated expansions, the living beings are part and parcel of the Lord. The Lord expands himself into plenary parts and separated parts to enjoy transcendental pastimes. And if a living being refuses to engage in these transcendental blissful pastimes, he is at liberty to merge into the absolute. This is something like a son committing suicide instead of living with his father. According to the rules, the father sets down. By committing suicide, the son thus sacrifices the happiness he could have enjoyed by engaging in a filial, loving relationship with his father and enjoying his father's estate. A pure devotee persistently avoids such a criminal policy, and King Kulashekara is guiding us to avoid this pitfall. The king also says that the reason he is praying to the Lord is not to be saved from the Kumbhipaka hell. Laborers in gigantic iron and steel mills suffer tribulations similar to those in the Kumbhipaka hell. Kumbhi means pot and Paka means boiling. So if a person were put into a pot of oil and the pot were set to boiling, he would have some idea of the suffering in Kumbhipaka hell. There are innumerable hellish engagements in the modern so-called civilization. And by the grace of the Lord's illusory energy, people think these hellish engagements are a great fortune. Modern industrial factories fully equipped with up-to-date machines are so many Kumbhipaka hells. Actually, one thing that environmentalists point out, on one hand, we see so many skyscrapers, airplanes, beautiful mobile phones, iPads, digital devices, but they are not coming from beautiful forests in natural environment. They are coming from very hellish places where people have to work in assembly lines for 8 hours, in some places 14 hours, just for a small amount of money. And they are made to engage in these routine activities, which is not good for mental health of the human beings also. Lot of human energy is being utilized for the enjoyment of a privileged few. So Prabhupada is not exaggerating here. And the organizers of these enterprises regard them as indispensable for the advancement of economic welfare. The mass of laborers exploited by the organizers directly experience the welfare conditions in these factories. But what the organizers do not know is that by the law of karma, they will in due time become laborers in similar Kumbhipaka hells. Intelligent persons certainly want to be saved from such Kumbhipaka hells, and they pray to God for this benediction. But a pure devotee does not pray in this way. A pure devotee of Narayana looks equally upon the happiness enjoyed in heaven, the transcendental bliss of becoming one with the Lord, and the tribulations experienced in the Kumbhipaka hell. That is a straight paraphrase of the Bhagavatam verse. Narayana para sarvena kutashana vidyati. Swargapavarga narakeshva pitulyartha darshinaha. He is not concerned with any of them because he is always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. By the grace of the Lord, even in the Kumbhipaka hell, a pure devotee can adjust the situation and turn it into Vaikuntha. Kaivalyam narakayate tridashapura akashapushpaite dutantentre kala sarpa patali rodkhatatam shraite vishwam purna sukhayate. The entire world becomes blissful if we engage in pure devotional service as taught by Lord Chaitanya. The Bhagavad Gita and all other revealed scriptures say that the Lord accompanies every living being in his localized aspect of Paramatma, the Super Soul. Therefore, even a living being destined to reside in the Kumbhipaka hell is accompanied by his eternal companion, the Lord. But by his inconceivable power, the Lord remains aloof from these hellish circumstances, just as the sky remains separate from the air, although seemingly mixed with it. Similarly, the pure devotee of the Lord does not live anywhere in this material world, although he appears to live among mundane creatures. Actually, the devotee lives in Vaikuntha. In this way, the Supreme Lord bestows upon his pure devotee the inconceivable power that allows him to stay aloof from all mundane circumstances and reside eternally in the spiritual world. The devotee does not want this power consciously or unconsciously, but the Lord is careful about his devotee, just as a mother is always careful about her little child who is completely dependent on her king. So even though the pure devotee is not interested in various material benefits like mystic powers, the Supreme Lord is very much concerned about the pure devotees. A pure devotee like King Kulashekara refuses to associate with beautiful, soft-skinned women. There are different grades of women on different planets in the universe. Even on the earth, there are different types of women who are enjoyed by different types of men. But on the higher planets, there are women many, many millions of times more beautiful than the women on this planet. And there are also many pleasure abodes where they can be enjoyed. The best of all of these is the Nandana gardens on Swargaloka. In the Nandan gardens, a garden of Eden, those who are qualified can enjoy varieties of beautiful women called Apsaras. The demigods generally enjoy the company of the Apsaras in the same way that the great Mughal kings and Nawabs enjoyed their harems. But these kings and Nawabs are like straw before the demigods of Swargaloka, which lies in the third stratum of the universe. The inner tendency to enjoy is in the core of every living being's heart. But in the diseased state of material existence, the living being misuses that tendency. The more he increases this diseased conditioned state, the longer he extends his period of material existence. The Shastras advise, therefore, that a living entity should accept only those sense enjoyable objects necessary for the upkeep of the material body and reject those that are just for sense gratification. That is there in Bhagavatam. So one should only accept as much as required. In this way, he will reduce the tendency for sense enjoyment. This restraint cannot be imposed by force. It must be voluntary. These are all things which we should understand ourselves and apply it ourselves. Not that we require our spiritual master to tell us, more advanced devotees to tell us. When we understand 2 plus 2 is 4, then it's time to apply that arithmetic. Such restraint automatically develops in the course of one's executing devotional service. Thus, one who is already engaged in devotional service need not restrain his senses artificially. A pure devotee, like King Kulashekara, therefore, neither desires sense enjoyment, nor exerts himself to restrain his senses. Rather, he tries only to engage himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord without any stop. In other words, he's not interested in bhoga, nor is he interested in tyaga. So he's not interested in enjoying the sense objects, nor is he interested in avoiding them also. So he avoids sinful activities and he simply engages in devotional service. He's not averse like the impersonalists. Dharma kami vedanishthas savitar upasak, arthakami ganesher upasak, कामकामी शक्ति उपासक एवं मोक्षकामी रुद्रोपासक एवं हेतु मूले अर्थात सकाम विष्णु उपासक सुतरां विद्ध भक्त. Amongst those who are fixed in Vedic authority, Vedanishta, that means those who accept Vedic authority, the one who desires piety, pious credits, dharma, punya, worship Savita, Surya. The one who desires Artha worships Ganesha, Ganapati. The one who desires sense enjoyment, Kama, he worships Shakti, Durga, in her various forms, Parvati. And the one who desires liberation from material existence worships Rudra.
Rudra gives liberation.
Here, Lord Shiva can give liberation. If one is respectful to Lord, all of these persons have to worship Lord Vishnu also, otherwise it will not work. And those who worship, those who are impure devotees of Lord Vishnu, those who are having a material motivation behind their worship, they are Sakam Vishnu Upasakas. They are materialistic worshippers of Lord Vishnu. Panchopasana Sakam एवं निष्काम अवस्थाएं निर्गुण ब्रह्मोपासना सिद्ध। अद्वैत की भक्ति द्वारा शुद्ध विष्णु उपासना पाए। Panchopasana is materialistic. Worship of these 5 deities is materialistic. And in the status beyond such materialistic pursuits, without such selfish pursuits, let me say, there is the worship of the impersonal Brahman, which is beyond the 3 modes of material nature. Unmotivated devotional service is a means to engage in pure worship of Lord Vishnu. Okay, I still have some time, so let me go ahead with the next verse. Sadhake Swarup ki. What is the nature of a sadhaka in devotional service? Ainandat tanuja kinkaram patitam maam vishapne bhavam buddhau kripaya tava pada pankaja sthita dhuli sadrisham vichintaya. O my Lord, O Krishna, son of Maharaj Nanda, I am your eternal servant, but because of my own furtive acts, I have fallen into this horrible ocean of nescience. Nescience means ignorance. Now please be causelessly merciful to me. Consider me a particle of dust at your lotus feet. O my Lord, the son of Nanda Maharaj Krishna, by your causeless mercy, please kindly consider me, your servant, who has fallen into this horrible ocean of nescience, to be situated like a particle of dust at your lotus feet. Mukti Vinod. Okay. Nanu kim samsara dukkham na alochaneyam sadhakena ityashankya ainandat tanujeti. Question. Shouldn't the sadhaka consider the distresses of material existence? Anticipating this, he speaks the text beginning, Ainandat Tanuja. Hey Nanda Tanuja, O son of Nanda Maharaj, Aham Vastu Vicharatas Tava Nityakinkara. I am factually, by a factual analysis or by a proper consideration, I am your eternal menial servant. Kinkara literally means menial servant. It is derived from the expression Kinkaromi. What can I do for you? A menial servant is supposed to ask that to the master. Adhuna nijakarma doshena vishame bhavasagare patita. Right now, by the defect of my own karma, I have fallen into this ocean of material existence, which is very terrible. Kama krodhadi bahu shatru tadita. I am beaten by many enemies in the form of lust, anger, and so on. Durasha duschinta taranga prapidita. I am tormented by durasha, evil hopes, duschinta. Bad anxieties. Kusanga prabala vayuna prachalitascha. I am being thrown about by the powerful wind of bad association. Kadachit karma jnana yoga tapasya api trinaguchha bhasamana drishyante. In the status, sometimes I can see some clumps of grass floating about. These are karma, jnana, yoga, austerities, and austerities. तान अवलंब्य भवसमुद्र तीर्षा निष्फला. The desire to cross over the ocean of material existence by holding on to them will prove to be unsuccessful. Tesham apartatva, because they are useless. Bahu klesha pidyamanaha anutaptaha san. Tava kripam vina asya bhavasamudrasya paragamane anya plavaha na asti iti gyatva Shri Guru Charana Kripaya Bhavannama Taranim Praptava. Being pained by various forms of distresses, suffering in this manner, having understood that without your mercy, there is no boat to cross over this ocean of material existence. Having understood this, I have attained the boat in the form of your holy name by the mercy of the lotus feet of my spiritual master. Bhavaneva Sharanagata Vatsalyat Sarvadosha Marjana Purvakam Nirashritam Mam Karunaya Bhavat Pada Pankajasthita Dhuli Sadrisham Vichintaya Bhavaya. You yourself, out of your affection for the one who has surrendered unto you, having purified me of all defects, out of your own mercy, you consider me, who has no shelter, to be like a piece of dust situated at your lotus feet. Tava pada padma samlagna renuriva tasmat na vichinno bhavishyamiti bhavaha. It is implied just as dust that is stuck to your lotus feet, like that, let me never become separated from your lotus feet. That is the implication. Etena karma jnana labhya bhakti bhukti. There's a printing mistake here. Etena karma jnana labhya bhukti mukti phala kamana bhakta jananam parityajya iti gyatavyam. So from this, it is understood that those who are engaged in devotion service, the bhaktas, should abandon the desire for bhukti and mukti, enjoyment and freedom from suffering, which can respectively be attained through karma and jnana. Of course, it also goes without saying that we should give up the desire for immediate sense gratification, which can be attained through adharma. It's a nice song. Let me just read out the song also. In that way, I would have completed. Anadi karma phale, podi bhavar nav jale, tori bare na dekhi upay, ye vishay phalahle, divanishi hiya jale, mon kofu sukh nahi paye. I have fallen into the ocean of material existence as a result of my selfish activities, as a result of my selfish activities which are without beginning. And I see no means of deliverance from this great ocean of nescience. Day and night my heart burns from the poison of these sense objects. And on account of this, my mind never finds any happiness. Asapash shoto shoto klesha de abhirato prakriti urmir tahe khela kam krodh adi choy bad pade de bhoy avasan hoilo ashi bela. Hundreds and thousands of desires like nooses around my neck constantly give me misery and trouble. In that great ocean of nescience play the waves of materialistic tendency. In this world, there are many thieves and rogues, of whom 6 are prominent: lust, anger, greed, illusion, and madness. They are causing me great fear. In this way, my life is coming to an end. Jnana karma thol dui, more protariya loy, avasheshe fele sindhu jale. এই হীন সময়ে বন্ধু তুমি কৃষ্ণ কৃপা সিন্ধু কৃপা করি তোলো মোরে বলে. The two highway robbers, mental speculation and fruitive activity, jnana and karma, have cheated me and misled me. And finally, they have thrown me into the ocean, referring to the ocean of distress. At such a time as this, my dear Krishna, my friend Krishna, you are the ocean of mercy. This is correct. You lift me with strength. Patita kinkare dhari, pada padma dhuli kori, deho bhakti vinode ashray, আমি তব নিত্য দাস বলিয়া মায়ার পাশ বদ্ধ হয়ে আছি দয়াময়. For lifting up this fallen servant and making him into a dust of your lotus feet, please give Bhakti Vinod shelter. I am your eternal servant. I, having forgotten, I have become bound up by the network of Maya. O most merciful Lord. All right.